Yo. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Hacking Health Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Canning, with Dave Kennedy. Yo.
What's up, everybody? It's been a bit. It's been a couple weeks.
Yes, this is going to be my public apology for us just disappearing off the face of the earth. We don't really have an excuse. It's just we didn't prioritize getting the podcast done. Life was lifing. We were traveling. We just couldn't coordinate it, but we're back. We are back.
We are back, and we're going to make it a priority. So
we are. Life updates from Dave. What's going on, man?
Wow, I've been playing a lot of airsoft lately. That's been
no
good.
way, not like you.
Yeah, I know, that's surprising. Yeah. And I just joined an elite team of airsoft people that do like military simulations and stuff. They're like one of the most elite teams in the country. So nice. I'm a funny story. One of my coworkers here, Chris, he has a kid, I guess, that plays at MK Airsoft, and Chris is like, oh, I think he coaches this kid, and he asked the kid, he's like, do you know my buddy Dave? He plays here a lot. And he's like, who's Dave? He's like, oh, he's like this big guy. He's like, whoa, is he this really big guy? And Chris is kind of explaining. He's like, oh my God, that guy is insane. He kills everybody. He's the best. And I'm like, yep, that's me.
Nice. So making a name for yourself in the airsoft community then?
Making myself, it's my whole new career is going to be in airsoft. But no, I mean, things have been going really good. Kids are doing great. My son just had a winter formal dance with his girlfriend, and kids are growing up like crazy, and business has been doing great, staying super busy, and everything else has been really good. I can't complain. It's just same old stuff, just new iteration of it. If you see, I have a little mark here. That was from an airsoft hit the other day. So
I thought you didn't get shot.
I got shot. Oh, I definitely got shot. I get shot a lot. It's just it's a KD ratio, right? So I get shot less than I actually kill people. So that's why I'm good. Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's like Call of Duty. Yeah.
Okay.
How about you, dude? How you been?
Good. Yeah, everything's been really good. I've just been. Well, we had an event in Cleveland that we were due to record a podcast in person that we didn't get to do. So we had that.
It was tough.
Yeah, but it was good. It was good to, number one, sort of, as we sort of mentioned, it was a Circle of Life month. The first ever event that we did was in Cleveland, which was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was our 13th. So there's a lot of stuff that's happened between then. And I'll say this to you, and I said it many times to Dill, is I don't care what people say. I kind of like Cleveland. It gets a bad rap from a lot of people, but you know what? I like it.
Me too.
So we had that. We're about 6 weeks into the program, which I think we probably spoke about on the last call, or on the last podcast. And everybody's fucking loving it, man. Everybody's progressing really well. It's good to sort of get a little bit of structure for people. It's good to see them make cool progress. It's good to see people sort of from the Twitter world that their name has been about actually get involved. A lot of people making some really good progress, and we have just launched, which we're going to talk about today. Hopefully what will be the last program that you will ever need to join. So I've been in the depths of building that out, building the landing page, building the email sequences, building out what the coaching is going to look like, sort of, you know what I'm like. I just like sort of taking things apart and putting them back together again. So I spent a lot of time on this. We launch on the 24th of March. And honestly, it's the first time I've been excited about, like genuinely excited about coaching and the business and like the team at this level in a long fucking time. I have spent many hours in this room, sat at this desk, just writing stuff on my laptop, sat in the dark, 14, 16 hour days. But you know, that type of work where you just don't like, I don't want to say nothing else matters, but you just don't want to step away from it because you're so in it. So that's been my life for the past probably 4 or 5 weeks. So I've been enjoying it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I recently built an application for one of my buddies that owns the airsoft facilities. And it's funny, like I miss all that. So like I was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like my sleep scores go look horrible. But I was up till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning just coding and, building applications and stuff like that. And it's the first time I actually used for like actual development, like ChatGPT and AI assistants and stuff like that. And it actually helped a lot on being able to generate prototypes and function types and things like that. And I was able to speed up my development process. So I had a lot of fun just kind of learning that new process flow for how I do things versus how I used to do things. And I like normally this application would have taken me like 2 weeks to build it. It took me like 2 days to build. And then, of course you got to iterate on it. So it took like 4 days because I was adding new cool things and, having fun with it. But when you find something you love doing, and obviously you love doing this and building new programs, adds a lot to your passion. And that, parlays very much into the side of fitness too. It's like, when you actually get into and you start doing it and you start getting more regulated with it and you start to see the progress, you start to, really enjoy that as well too. And my training has been going really, really well as of late. And so I'm gonna mention Orange Theory really quick.
So you have a couple of passes here because we haven't been talking about it in a couple of weeks.
I got 4 mentions for this right now. But the Orange Theory that I go to, they closed down, unfortunately. What? So yeah, they're closed down. They like literally, it was like last week. They didn't give any heads up or anything. They're like, hey, we're shutting down. Sorry, good luck. And so I'm going to this other place that's down the street, a little bit longer. It's like an extra 10 minutes or so. It's not too bad. But it's funny because I've gone there a few times and they're like, we're glad you're back. Cause I'm the only one there that pushes like the 80-pound, dumbbells and, sprinting at 12 miles an hour.
Dusting the dumbbells off for you coming back in.
So they're like, we're glad you're back. So it's good to be at a different location, I guess, and a little bit of change of scenery. And that was fun. But, I really enjoy the, doing things that are beneficial and kind of work the brain and work your body and everything else. And, building programs like you're doing with Endgame and, being able to like code and do other things. Like that's how I get to express my, creativity and stuff like that. Right. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that my sort of biggest observation over the past few weeks is like the iteration and the building and the rebuilding and what I'm like with the details, like going into the details and stuff. That's the stuff that I really enjoy. And because I hadn't really done that in a while, it was a good reminder as to like, I guess if we talk about it on a business perspective, like where I see myself in the business is doing that and creating new products and new programs and continuing to sort of build and evolve the stuff that we already have. It sort of came off the back of, obviously it was about 2.5 years ago, we launched Hacks initially, and I hadn't really done much iteration of it over time. And I realized there was, while it was great, there were many flaws within it. And it was just a case of taking it apart again, looking at the bits were really good, sitting down with you guys around the pool table whenever we were in Cleveland and sort of getting ideas from everybody and then seeing how we can make it better over time. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's a good reminder as to why I actually started coaching in the first place.
Well, I think what's different about this program too is you actually have a lot of help behind you too, right? You have entirely an entire support staff behind you, in different elements where, these have been folks that have come through your program and have just excelled and done amazing things and are now part of that, which I think is really awesome. So, I mean, it's not just you, it's also other folks that are helping out with this as well to make it such a successful program. And I've seen the content we've been posting. It's awesome. And it's just going to continue to get better. So tell us a little bit about it though. Like well,
I think just to your point of, having other people around, and you had maybe told me this many years, but maybe I didn't believe it until I worked at it myself. But it turns out you can't do everything by yourself.
It's true.
Who knew, right? Surprise, spoiler alert, you can't do everything by yourself. So obviously over the past few years, we've introduced Lorena to the team as a sort of movement and mobility specialist. She will continue to be a part of the team. And I think she's a huge part in terms of just people being able to sort of actually use their bodies in a way that they never have before. One of the biggest sort of feedbacks that I get from the majority of people is they want more mobility. So we've established a pretty solid mobility routine within that and a call schedule with her and sort of weekly, monthly content that we have with her. We recorded a lot of stuff in the gym here towards the end of last year and sort of looked at like 6 major movements and 10 levels of mobility for each of those, which I think the biggest problem that a lot of people face in her is if they saw her, who is a former Olympic gymnast and literally coaches mobility, like, I can't even get into the fucking start position of that movement. So they were put off by their inability to even get started. So how we've done it this time is Lorena will sort of describe the movement. She'll talk us through it and she'll demonstrate it. Then you get to see me try and do the mobility, which is hilarious in itself, and see sort of where my limitations lie and how it would look for a quote unquote normal person. And then Dill also did it. So he was here shooting that day. So he got roped in and he has, a career of like BMXing and surfing and things like that, skateboarding and whatever else. So there were things that he was better at than me. So it's good to sort of see a different variety of people like that. Plus the videos are fucking hilarious because Dill's involved in them. So we had a good laugh with that. We will have Sean back on board. He is still currently off in recovery, but he's doing well. So hopefully we'll have him back in the next couple of months to manage the breath work and the sort of mindset side of stuff. So that will remain the same. He will be there on a monthly basis with the calls and again providing weekly and monthly content for the team and sort of breathwork, journaling, meditation and sort of looking at the software side of things. And then we are introducing Jen and Thomas as a coach. They've helped me out with the program and coaching the team and doing check-ins. As you said, they've been a part of the team and they've come through the whole process. They've just finished up their personal training qualifications, and I've actually just signed them up to do a little bit further education, which will be good for me because I'm going to go through it with them. So it'll sort of hone my skills a little bit, and it'll give us some monthly content to go through. But I think, truthfully, the biggest benefit of having them is, like you said, they've been through the process. Like each of them have been through their own journey of losing up to 85, 90 pounds each. And now they're on the journey of being in a surplus and sort of chasing those big numbers when it comes to powerlifting and compound movements, and they're moving into more of a surplus phase. So even having them about and just them sort of reminding themselves is the things that they have learned over time that they potentially forgot, and they see, them maybe 2 years ago in the people that they're speaking to and the advice that they're giving out. So having them as a team as the whole is going to be very cool. And I'm excited to sort of bring them on the journey of sort of looking at the bigger picture for We Hack Health and us being able to establish this as a pretty solid name within the industry as people who are trying to make change in that narrative of the unhealthiness and the burnout and the fatigue.
I'll just tell you, seeing the progress of some of these folks has been absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. So I saw Tom and, I was like, so I used to call him quads because he had like these massive quads, but now he's like arms too. I'm like, well, shoot, I got some catching up to do to you, bro. Like your arms got bigger than me. I need to work on this a bit more. Jeez,
I think that my observation whenever we were in Cleveland was that whenever we were training in your gym, I'm like, fucking hell, like, and I know that you and I sort of matched in terms of level across the board with strength or whatever. I'm like, there's a couple of people that are coming up, Thomas included, that are like approaching that. I'm like, fuck, I really need to send it with my own training to make sure that I still stay.
That's what I was saying too. I'm like, I really need to start sending it a little bit quicker because man, oh man, they're catching up. So I think Tom might got me on the arms now. I'm like, just geez, we'll see after this cut how I look in this cut, but
true.
And that's actually going really well. I will say I'm logging all my food, doing everything I'm supposed to do. Down to 235 from 250. So nice. Right where we want to be at, and starting to see the abs again, which is great. And it's funny because it's interesting. So when I'm in my surplus phase of things, I love it because I can eat whatever I want to, and I feel big and everything else. But then when you start to skinny down, you're like, oh man, like my muscles are popping. Like I look big, I look bigger, and it's just a different, set of feeling and everything that goes along with it, that you start to see all that work that you've really been, pushing out and trying to get to, and starting to see the benefits of those results has been great. So, my strength has been staying the same, which has been great. I haven't lost any muscle mass, and while I'm dropping the weight, and I've actually gone up in some. So, that's the best of both worlds right there. Doing it slow, steady, make sure you don't lose muscle mass, and staying up the protein. It's been great.
For sure. And I think that, I think I mentioned this on the last time we recorded, but I started working with James again. I think I'm maybe 6 or 7 weeks in, and, my goal initially with him, yes, okay, there is a sort of background thought of physique development and want to be bigger and want to be leaner and all of the stuff that we usually talk about. But I remember the last time that I worked with James, the sort of number one capacity that I had for work, number two, the sort of mental clarity and just the ability to just handle fucking life at a higher level. And I already feel through back to that, and it's worked out quite well going through that with the guys and girls in the program as well, because I'm sort of reminding myself of what that feeling is whenever you get started back into it. And like I said, I don't know whether it was the work specifically that I was doing or just a combination of everything, but since food has been better, I've really been focusing on sleep, because you were giving me the chat about your high sleep scores, and I was like, fucking hell, all right, another fucking leaderboard that we need is who's getting the best sleep score. But it's been good to just follow that routine again, and I've been getting up quite early. I was here at the gym at 4:30 this morning, so get up before, just come work the entire day. Once I get wrapped up with this, I'm home, and I'll be trying to be in bed for 9 o'clock. So even having that sort of structure of wake up time and bedtime has been good. Having the nutrition really dialed in, like actually a lot of whole foods, like just really good quality ingredients. And one of the things that I like about being in a slight deficit is I quite like feeling lighter, if that makes sense. And it might not make the sense to a lot of people, but whenever you're in a surplus, you eat a lot of food, you just feel like heavy all the time because you're full of food. But I quite like the feeling of like,
well, there's like a tightness in your stomach too. Like your stomach tightens up, like your skin tightens up. Like you don't have all that food sitting in your stomach.
Right now I feel a lot leaner than I actually am. And I think it's just like that sort of, I'll say it in the best way possible, like emptiness. Like you just get up the stairs like at 1.5 speed, like you just have a little bit more spring in your step. And I've enjoyed that feeling as well. And even just reintroducing cardio and just feeling better day to day. So for me, I mean, I know I'm biased, but I would highly, highly recommend having a coach, because even just that change over the past 6 or 7 weeks, working with him and having a second set of eyes and ears on everything, and him sort of calling me out and sort of going in a little bit more depth as to what he's seeing on his side as a coaching perspective versus what I see as just submitting the check-in sheet, has been really, really good. And it's given me a lot more capacity in terms of work. But
what I like too, though, one thing I'll say is that the first like 3 weeks of like deficit wise, you know, we did a pretty big calorie drop because we're used to it. In the first few weeks, I was like, man, I'm still kind of hungry. Now I'm like, man, I don't even know if I could make 2,800 calories. You know, like I'm full. You know, like your body just adjusts so differently. You know, just by going into a system and knowing like, hey, this is all I can eat for the day. You get used to it, and then like your body's like, okay, well, I really don't need, you know, that much, you know, amount of work or that much amount of food and that type of stuff. And then all of a sudden now, like I just like today, I'm at 140. Like I'll whip out my MyFitnessPal. Hang on one second. I'm sitting at 117 grams of carbs, 47 grams of fat, 140 grams of protein, you know, and it's 2:30 p.m. I have 1,400 calories still to go. And like, so in the mornings, I've actually changed my routine up quite a bit. And I found this to work really well for me. So I always felt like I always had to have carbs after I had a big, intense workout. And I agree with that. I understand the principles behind that, because you're, you know, popping glycogen into your muscle stores and everything else, but I'd always feel like crap afterwards. Like I'd feel like sluggish and tired and things like that. So what I started doing is I just have a really large protein shake right after my workout. So, and I use Hacking Your Health. By the way, I completely switched over to vanilla. Like I am a vanilla fan. Yeah, I'm 100% in on
big
vanilla.
News.
This is big news. Like I was against vanilla in every capacity.
I even remember at the start, we're like, do we even really need vanilla? Like neither of us actually really liked vanilla.
Yeah. I am 100% converted to vanilla in our protein, because it mixes so easy. Like I can just put, like if you take a full shaker, right? And I fill it a little bit less than half of water, and I put 8 scoops of protein in, which is 87 grams of protein. It mixes, there's no chunks, not one chunk whatsoever. It's completely lightweight, and I can chug the whole thing. It tastes great. And I'm not full. I'm not like, you know, like, oh, my stomach's like all gurgly, things like that. It feels perfectly fine. And that you know, tides me over until lunch. And then today I just had some rice with steak and Mongolian beef. And it was, you know, 500 or 550 calories. And like that to me was like, it was just a smaller size portion. 550 calories really isn't that much. Completely full. I'm completely full from an hour ago. I'm doing great on the calories, and now I just got to figure out how to get another 100 grams of protein in. And so like this is like breeze for me right now. And I know we're going to go lower in calories and things like that, but fully able to do that because it's just that system, right? It's like, hey, I'm supposed to eat, let's just say 3,500 calories right now. I will go and do it. And I feel like crap the first 2 weeks, but then after that, my body adjusts. I'm able to eat 3,500 calories, no problem. You know, again, this is over time, you know, 3,000, 3,200, 3,300, 3,500 over time. But now it's like 2,800. I'm cooking. And because I'm not eating that big breakfast, I feel energetic and great and fine in the mornings. And then I get my good carb load, you know, for lunch, which, you know, catapults me for energy levels for the rest of the day. It's just, I feel great. Like, and it's really weird because I could never figure out like why I was like feeling tired and kind of like sluggish in the mornings. And it's because I was eating carbs, like lots of carbs in the morning. And I know that works for a lot of people, but it doesn't work for me. So new things that I'm learning, right?
But that's what the whole process is, just continuing to learn. I will say I still have chocolate in my oats that do remain uncooked, but I have moved to vanilla from having a shake or if I'm having it with like Greek yogurt. So I would agree, having both is absolutely ideal. And while we're on the topic, I've shifted how I do things. I've been pretty much just having my calories over 2 meals throughout the day. So like not eating until probably about 90 minutes before I train, having a big bowl of oats, training, then having a shake or something like that, and then eating a large dinner. And that's worked out really well, just in terms of like mental clarity and ability to get stuff done throughout the day.
I will say I still eat my gushers before my workout. Right? I have 2
They
packs.
will remain. They will remain.
They will remain, but it's only 90 calories, but it's all carbs, all simple carbs, easy to digest, gives me a little bit of nice little boost. And that's what I use for my carb intake, you know, for the beginning, simple carbs that digest in like 30 minutes, if not less. And then I'm ready to start cooking at the gym. So it's been working out really good. And the training blocks that you put me through, have been also working out really good because time wise, I'm only spending 45 minutes in the gym and I'm getting a massive pump. I'm feeling great. I'm getting stronger. And that leads us into the discussion of today, which is failure or not to failure. That is the question, right? And there's a lot of debate on whether or not you take yourself to failure. Now, first of all, I would say that 90% of people that work out don't actually take themselves to failure. Because failure is like you can't even move your arms at all. Like the muscles have just completely shit the bed and they're checked out. Okay. Have you ever seen some of those people at the gym that do legs and someone has to carry them out on a stretcher? You know,
They like roll out of the leg press.
Well, you see their legs are like going like this. You can actually see the muscles twitching like this. That's failure. Okay.
Yeah.
98% of people don't take themselves to failure. So what I was listening to Dr. Mike the other day, and he's great. He's freaking hilarious. He's grown on me quite a bit. He's got a lot of great stuff, and he's from RP Fitness and Nutrition. But he's grown on me a little bit, and he was talking about why drop sets are so important in a lot of people that are training, and why failure is why it's beneficial for people that are trying to get that muscle stimulus and to maximize muscle growth. And so, the question is, do you take yourself to failure? And if you do, how do you do that the most effective and efficient way? And I was also looking at some posts with like Sam Sulik and a few others. Sam, is very different than how Jay Cutler lifts, for example, famous IFBB bodybuilder, Mr. Olympia, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was looking at all of these, but the ways that they do things are pretty much the exact same. It's just different in how they get to that point, right? Mm-hmm. And so you look at like Sam Sulik. Sam had a video that he was talking about where he's like, okay, if you're just starting off in your lifting and you start off with 60 pounds and you do 12 reps of 60 pounds, and then you do 12 reps of 70 pounds and you do 12 reps of 80 pounds, why wouldn't you just start off with the 80 pounds and then gradually go down? Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's one way of looking at it for sure. You can definitely do that. And that's more what I attest to. So I do my warm-up set and then I go as heavy as I possibly can in the 8 to 10 rep range. And then from there, I start to slowly go down in weight because, I've already fatigued my muscles to the point to where I'm not able to handle that same type of load. And usually I'll do the same set twice. So like, let's just say it's a bench and I'm doing 300. Okay. And I get, 5 to 8 in that rep range. Well, let's just say I get 8. My next set is probably only be 5. And then I go down in weight to get to that 8 to 10 rep range again, mm-hmm. so that I'm still taxing my muscles as much as possible. Now, what Dr. Mike was talking about was incorporating drop sets or run the racks, same thing, where basically you're going down in weight, but you're only giving yourself a very minimum time of rest. So for example, let's just say I'm doing leg extensions and I'm at 200 pounds on leg extensions. Then I do 12 of those. And that's the max I can go on 12, right? I'm fatigued at 12. I can't get another one in. Okay. You give yourself maybe 10 to 20 seconds for that burn to go away, and you drop the weight stack by 2, and then you knock out as many as you can then. And then you drop the weight stack again, again, taking 10 or 20 seconds in between, and then hitting that weight stack again. I do that almost every single one of my workouts now as my last exercise, my last essentially set that I do, because it creates an environment that keeps you in that failure zone for longer. And what Dr. Mike was explaining is the longer that you can be in that failure zone, the more that you're going to get as far as benefits for muscle hypertrophy and growing muscle. So you're drastically accelerating your ability to build muscle because you're telling your body that you don't have enough weight to be able to do this. You don't have enough endurance, strength, power, etc. with those fast twitch and slow twitch fibers, that it needs to build more muscle to go and do that. And when you're in that period of time where you're in a large failure set, it sends that signal tenfold to have you grow those muscles. So, for me, I can't do drop sets every single time. It's going to be an absolute disaster. But for your last set, like let's just say you're doing legs and you start off with hack squats. Cool. You do heavy hack squats and you go down in weight, or you start off at a lower weight and you build yourself up. Then you do some regular squats or, Bulgarian split squats, unfortunately, which what Ben has programmed into mine, which by the way are phenomenal for growing quads. I hate them though. Whoever invented those needs to.
I will say this: I programmed David Boyd, like, give an updated program recently, and he sent me a message being like, "I'm sorry that I have offended you or pissed you off in some way." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "You programmed the Bulgarian split squats after hack squats," and I just sent him a screenshot of my training program that says hack squats and Bulgarian split squats, and I wrote, "I would never get you to do anything that I wouldn't do."
That's a good point. It's a good point. The range of motion that you get from those isolated quad movements is honestly superior to almost anything else that's out there. So Bulgarian split squats are honestly one of the best for growing quads, period. Like they are. And I'd say leg extensions being probably right up there as well. And then, so let's just say I do, leg extensions and I throw in some, glutes and hammies. I do some leg curls. I do, maybe some power squats or something like that hit those, or deadlifts, whatever. And then my last set is going to be leg extensions. And I'll typically do 4 sets of those. And my fourth one, I start off as heavy as I can go. And maybe I only get, again, 8, 9 of those. Then I drop down 2 stacks, two weight stacks in that weight stack thing. And then I do as many sets as I possibly can to that. Maybe I only get, 8 or 10 again of those. Then I drop down again, give myself 10 to 20 seconds. And then do those again until I get to literally I'm only doing 30 pounds, and I'm dying. Like I'm dripping in sweat, and my legs are shaking. But during that period of time, I'm keeping my legs in a failure state as long as I possibly can. Now, you can still do the same thing probably with heavier weights, but it's very difficult to get to that point if you're not doing something like drop sets to actually get to the failure part. And so for me, it's been a staple in anything I'm doing, whether it's shoulders, whether it's chest, whether it's glutes and hammies or, quads, back. I do them all now as part of those. As my last set is always a failure set. And I've had a lot of great benefit with that on being able to do, having some great growth and noticeable growth, not just in size, but also strength and everything else that goes along with it. To me, it's one of the best things you could probably do.
Yes, I agree, with the caveat of it's a learned skill. And I will always remind you of this because not everybody can go in first day in the gym and absolutely just train to failure. And I think that the biggest thing overall, and I was in London at the weekend, and Matt hosted a seminar, and Callum, who you've heard me speak about many times, who was one of my original coaches. He coaches IFBB pro bodybuilders, athletes at Olympia stage level. And he was delivering just about how he sets up clients, and not necessarily just at that elite level, but how the sort of fundamental things stay the same. And we were talking about going into rep ranges, and there's a lot of case studies that we talked about, and it's reminding people, coaches probably specifically because they're the ones doing the program, that being able to execute on the movement first is the priority. Whenever you can do that, like you saying even there about you can do it at a heavier weight. Yes, you can do it at a heavier weight, but you can't get the same quality of reps. So that's why you benefit from dropping down in the weight. So yeah, I would absolutely agree. And my training is slightly backwards in some aspects. So that hack squat, I have one set of 9 to 12 and then one set of 6 to 9. And there's nothing worse than giving it absolutely all on that first set of 9 to 12 and then going, I actually have to increase the weight here and then go again. And then I have to do fucking Bulgarian split squats. But yes, to your point on failure, I think number one, it's a learned skill. Number two, yes, I wouldn't do it absolutely every single exercise, every single session, because you will not have an inability to move. But if you know that there's something that you can isolate, as example, you said, leg extension, that you can just go down the rack. Essentially what you're doing is you run the rack. You've just framed it differently and made it your idea. But I think with that, it gives you the confidence that you can actually execute on the movement. You know what the cues are, you know how it should feel, and you know the sort of range of motion that you should be putting within it. And I do think it's something that will allow you to make better progress, as you said, in a quicker period of time. Yes, can you go into the gym and just do a regular set of 8 to 12 and make sure you progress in terms of either reps or weight over time and make progress? Yes. But if you're willing to embrace the suck and lean into it and actually go to failure, or at least learn what that feels like, you can massively fast forward your progress within that. And I think, yes, there is the physiological benefits of it, but I think failure or feeling or being afraid of failure is something that a lot of people deal with in everyday life. And I think it's almost the opposite that we're trying to teach here within the gym. It's we're trying to seek out failure and get to it as quickly as possible, or get to it in any way, shape, or form we can. So I think that reframing failure as a good thing when we do it in the gym will benefit you in other aspects of life, and understanding that failure is going to be part of the process in everything that you do.
Yeah, I think the technical term that is used in industry is what are called myo reps.
Yeah.
Is the essentially the true term for that, right? So essentially drop sets, run the racks are all myo reps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Mike also, there's another technique you can incorporate too, which are partial sets or partial reps. And there's some benefits to those, especially in things like hack squats. For hack squats, if you're not fully coming up to your full extended, obviously you leave a bend in your knee, but let's just say you come up halfway to that, you're keeping the maximum load on your quads, and you're not giving your quads any time for a breather. So partial reps can also be incorporated in those types of sets to get you to muscle failure much faster. And I do enjoy those on hack squats. They're killer. They're horrible. But
enjoy.
They can be very good. Now, I'm not advocating for full range of motion. Full range of motion, getting the stretch and everything else is also very important. But for certain sets, most specifically for like hack squats, or if you're doing elevated heel squats, things like that, those can be really beneficial for maximizing gains on those big, large muscle groups by doing partial reps as part of that. So I'm a big fan of those as well as part of my exercises. For my last, so like usually I start off either with a leg press or a hack squat. In those specific cases, on my last set of my hack squat, I'll do partial reps on those just to get that initial burn on my quads, full burn on those quads, versus like giving myself a couple seconds. Now, don't get me wrong, like once I get to like, my sixth or seventh rep, I'm not doing partials anymore. I'm like going to full, like I need a break, I need to breathe, like I'm dying here. So I'm like, okay, let's go. All right, then I do, but I mean, you can definitely incorporate different techniques in your lifting that give you some pretty awesome results.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the thing about it is getting more bang for your buck in the movement. So, if you can embrace a suck and do a partial rep on insert whatever the movement is, like you'll get more time spent under tension in that movement. And there's a whole other conversation about tempo and whatever else, but like you're doing more work from the same amount of total reps or total amount of sets or exercises, which is cool.
Bulgarian split squats, by the way.
Fucking Bulgarian split squats can give a fuck.
Making me more.
Open apology to anybody in Bulgaria. Whatever the rest of the world did to piss you off that you gave us the Bulgarian split squats, I apologize on behalf of everybody.
That and the boom squats, those two can go to hell in a handbasket. So yeah. I was it one of the guys I was showing pendulum squats to, and he's like, he had no weight on the back and he couldn't get back up off it. I'm like, yep. Welcome to pendulum squats, man. But
I remember the first time, because it was it must have been in old school Ireland that we did it, and you were looking at me and I had like a 10-pound plate or something on it, and you looked like I was a crazy person. I was like, trust me, bro. Like this machine is from a different world. Like this is not something like anything you've ever experienced before.
No, I think the max I've ever gone on a pendulum squat is like 55 pounds. Like that's it. Like that was hell. So like pendulum squats. If there's a pendulum squat machine in your gym, give it a shot and let us know what's the max you could do on it, because it's humbling. Like
tweet us from the bottom of it, because you'll be stuck in it. Like SOS, send help, send location pin.
It's like me squatting 500 on a squat bar, and then I get on this thing and I'm putting 55 pounds on there. I'm like, what is this? What is this hell? Like this is ridiculous. So
yeah. There's some in M10 where Callum used to coach out of, and sort of that era of like physique development where I sort of learned to train. Some of the big boys in there, they used to have maybe 4 or 5 plates on the back of it. I'm like, that's a whole different level of strength, and you're a whole different level of psychopath to want to take that on, because those machines are no joke.
No. But yeah, that was the main purpose of today's podcast, was just to get a little bit of understanding around what's going on with Endgame, and how you can kind of take your fitness to the next level. Huge fan. What you've been able to release is awesome. I can't wait to see once that launches in March. And then obviously talking a little bit about failure, because when we're training, I've always said this before, and it's funny because like Sam Sulek said the same thing. He's like, if you're going to the gym all the time and you're the same that you were last year, then the training that you're doing is not working, right? Mm-hmm. And so what do you need to do a little bit differently to get the results you can? And incorporating just some minor tweaks to your training program can give you some substantial gains. So if you just throw in drop sets or myo reps into your workout routine, and you're comfortable with the movements and everything else, it may give you that added boost that you need to get that growth that you're looking for, to get past plateaus and things like that. And if you think about it too, let's just say I was doing 4 sets of leg extensions, right? And I do the 200 for 12, and I'm fatigued and I'm done, right? And I don't do the myo reps, that's less volume that I've just done there versus if I was doing the myo reps themselves. So, it's like, you're adding more volume onto your legs, which is then giving that more of that muscle stimulus, but also you're taking it to that sweet spot of failure to say, hey, I really need you to grow muscles. I'm telling you to grow. You need to do this, or else we're going to continue to feel this pain. Your muscles will adapt and they will grow the way that you want them to by incorporating just some small tweaks that can help that out a lot. And, if you're in the bandwagon of starting off with lighter weights and going up, cool. Why don't you try going heavy first and then going down and see if that gives you any desired results. I've been really a big fan of that. I started off very much, starting off like say 50 pounds and 60 pounds and 70 pounds or whatever, and getting to my point there. But what I found is like, I get a much better pump with my muscles and a much better workout when I start off heavier and I go down in weight because my muscles are already fatigued. It's an easier balance for me in my mind to say, hey, my muscles are already fatigued. I'm not going to be able to get 8 to 10 reps out of this. I need to go down a little bit in weight to get those 8 to 10 reps in and then really get that fuel, in my bicep, for example. When you get that burn in your bicep and that you've worked that muscle out really good. I wasn't experiencing that as much going lower to higher. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just a mental thing with me. Maybe I wasn't pushing myself hard enough with that. And that's easy to do if you're just going up incrementally in weights. Now, if you're doing 50-pound weights and you're doing 12 of those, well, you probably could have did 60 with 10 of those and hit the next set with 65, and so it's just an easier way to kind of calculate, hey, I was able to get, I went too heavy and I was only able to get 6. So I need to go down a bit, but you still put your muscles through a pretty intense, insane thing because you're not at that point yet, so it's just a good way for me to measure success is by going heavier first and then going down in weight and then doing drop sets on top of that to hit that volume. So.
For sure. And I think I actually put together a document for both Thomas and Jen on, I think there's maybe 27 different types of rep ranges. So what we could do is we could pull that up one day and we'll go through them and sort of when they're applicable, when they're not, drop sets, cluster sets, rest, pause sets, all that sort of thing. One of them is called the Widowmaker. So stay tuned for that. But I think that would be a good way to sort of see when you fit these in and what they're actually useful for. So tune in for that in a future episode. And spoiler alert, I'll tell you, because I'm going to get you to test it out before anybody else. You mentioned total overall volume. So I'm completely redoing the check-in sheet for Endgame. And there will be a section in that in terms of like a logbook. So you'll be able to go in and log your lifts, sets, reps, and everything that you do within that. But it's quite good because it'll give you the total volume per exercise. It'll give you the total volume per session, and it'll give you the total volume across the week per muscle group. So we can play a bit. I'll load your training block into it, and we can play about with that as well. Because for me, I've been using it on this side, and the cool thing is, I'm like, right, okay, I just got 10 reps at 150 kilos. I need to up the weight. So I put the 160 kilos in and I'm like, right, if I get 6 reps, that's not going to be enough. If I get 7 reps, that's not going to be enough. I'm like, oh, fuck, I need to get 8 reps. So I know before in the set what I need to do to beat it because I can see it on the sheet and it gives me the green light if it's above and I've increased in terms of volume, or if it's red, if it's below. So just something additional for us to play about with.
That's so important, by the way. Like moving up in weight and moving up in volume is really important. And if you're not calculating those, like I have a whiteboard and I just erase it and I put my, or I keep the previous week up there and I put my new week and then I erase the old one, just so I know that I'm going up in some sort of volume each week, whether it's 5 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever. I know that I'm going up in volume, that I need to hit that specific number each time as I'm going and doing it. And that's going to ensure that you're continuously progressing and you're pushing yourself just a little bit further, whether there's one more rep that you can get in there, to get that number. Or hell, today was a total shit day. I'm going to have to do 2 more sets of something to get to that, volume. I'm going to hit that number no matter what I do. Right.
Yeah. Yep. Something else for us to play about with.
For sure. Well, hey, thanks so much for listening for this week's podcast. We are going to be much more consistent with that moving forward. So I appreciate everybody listening to us. Tune in for next week for another amazing podcast, and we'll catch you same time, same place.
See you in a bit.